Guilty Gear has almost been out for a year. I actually coach Guilty Gear on Metafy, right? I've been doing it since Guilty Gear Strive has come out. So I wanted to do a quick vid on the main things I have told people on Metafy to work on. I have been coaching for 78 hours, but I've had 100 sessions. I don't know how that works. I've coached 41 people, and I will say that for the vast majority of the people I coach, let's say out of the 40 people, 36 of them, I have told them the same thing. 3 things, very simple. By the way, I do appreciate, by the way, if you do coaching with me, but before you drop your young 75 on your boy, maybe check these things out. Instead, subscribe to my YouTube. That would probably be a lot better, right? Of course, you guys are getting the short version, though. They get a whole hour. They get a whole hour. You guys are only getting like the 10-minute version. Thing number 1, and how these basically work, we do a screen share, and I go over like a replay with them. I'm like, yeah, let's watch a couple of your matches. I'll see what's up, and then like I'll try to address what your problems are, and I'll try to identify stuff that is like easily actionable. The number 1 thing is combos. Actually, combos are interesting because I think combos are one of the things that people who don't play fighting games think is like a high skill of a fighting game. Like they see somebody who combos very consistently and they're like, this guy knows how to play. And this actually happened more in Dragon Ball than Guilty Gear, to be fair, is that people will not finish combos, or they will miss certain combo opportunities, or the last one is they always finish their combos, but they don't do the right routes. This one is actually the one I see specifically for melee players the most compared to other characters, the last one. Let's say instead of doing this, let's say you hit them with a mix-up, and someone does this, because, oh my god, I am so whack with this character. Okay, here you go. So someone does this instead, okay? So instead, they should be doing this, right? You guys have seen it a million times. They should be doing that. For example, some people do this because it's the most damage, right? But most high-level melee players you see they do this, and they just go into mix-up, okay? So even though that does slightly less damage, the implied damage is higher of doing that because you get way better, basically her best Oki. This one I see quite a bit. It definitely depends on the character. If you're playing like a Soul Kai Geo, then like Geo players generally, I'm like, yeah dude, you should really learn that sweep counter hit combo. It really is that important. Where like Soul players, they mostly have their combos down, so it's usually I have to gauge, hey, should you learn like optimal combos? Should you get just like 80% of the way so you just finish your combos consistently? I'm usually of the team of the best combo you could do is the one you could finish type of thing, so there's that. Which leads to number 2, set play. So there's some people who are really good at finishing their combos, but then they don't know what to do. So let's say you're like a melee player, for example, and you're doing like this, for example. That's a no-no, right? Why? Because you're screwing up what you could do after by doing this. Your selection is way weaker, even though you're doing the same thing by going over them. Right? Like, let's say like a Geo, like someone doing this and like waiting in their face as opposed to doing whatever OTG, you know, whatever Geo OTG she has of different stuff, like you would have to know the correct ones to use in the right situations. This is important because 1, it's pretty easy to implement, honestly. Again, both combos and set play are, combos for sure, set play kind of are like one-player things that you can practice on your own, that the only variable is your opponent's character and resource stuff, and not really what choices your opponent is actively making while you guys are playing. Depending on your character, if you're playing like a simpler character like Soul, it might be about, let's say you throw them in the corner and you get like the proper meaty instead of like freestyling with Fafnir or whatever. Or like Kyle, it's like, okay, why do they do dash CS into CS OTG into charge stun edge as opposed to just start charge stun edge? It would be just about learning these things so that you can route your game better. In the case of characters like Milia and Zato, you have to really just take the time to learn the actual good stuff so that you don't get taken out of your advantageous situation once you get it. Once it's developed, you can just definitely just ask people, hey, what are you doing? Or watch a video of someone better than you in the same situation and see what they do. The last one is probably the one that takes the most effort. The last one would be getting a baseline understanding of the rest of the cast. So that's obviously a big ask at this point. When the game came out, the game had what? Okay, 15 characters, which means we're at 20 characters right now. So when the game came out, not such a huge ask. It gets bigger each time there's a DLC character. So the way I would put it, easier would be to get a baseline understanding of matchups that you play a lot. So one would be matchups you play a lot. Two would be matchups you don't like. Those are probably the two. So for example, a lot of people complain about Nago, so you should probably put time into learning how to fight Nago because he's really common and you might not like him, right? Or another one would be, let's say, Ram. Like, she's not super common, but people don't like her, so it's worth putting time into learning how to play against Ram. A lot of people get annoyed by Axel. That's another one you can spend some time learning some baseline things about. I'll try to pick like 4 or 5 or so. In the sessions, I tend to definitely pick the one they send me matches of to use as one. And I'm like, all right, then you should try to pick like 3 others and just do what we did together on your own and just use the same type of idea. What type of things would you want to use as like, how do I develop like a baseline matchup knowledge? Let's get everyone's favorite character, Nagoriyuki. So I actually have a whole video on how to defend against Nago because I think it's really important and that will help people out a lot. So if you haven't watched that, please do. To get a baseline level, I would say learning about the ground versus ground game, how to anti-air character, aka what do you do when they're in the air and you're on the ground. Then the opposite, what to do when you're in the air and they're on the ground. And then you consider different distances also. Offense, so like when you're rushing them down. Defense, so when they're rushing you down, and then knockdown stuff, there's all one player stuff, knockdown stuff, and combo stuff. All that together would be like the matchup. So your goal would be to just have a couple little points about each thing so that you're just not caught unawares too easily. This is why it seems that sometimes players are able to like call out what people are doing. It happens a lot with Nago, right? I mean, stream, you guys just saw me. Like I was playing that Nago and I was here and I was like, oh, Beyblade. I just said Beyblade. I held up. He did Beyblade. I fell off a button, hit him. It's because I know how the blood gauge works. I know what they generally can do from this range with the amount of resources he has. I kind of just guessed. This is a 0 commit guess, basically. And then I just hit him because he did it. I was like, okay, cool, boom. Easiest places to start, I think, would be offense and defense, and then the neutral stuff of like ground versus ground at different distances, and then air versus ground, and then anti-airing them. I think that you can work on second, because again, it's easier to do the stuff where like one person has all the advantage as opposed to like the kind of ambiguous, you both can do things in this range type of thing. But if you do this, it will help you a lot in a ton of matchups. So let's actually do this really quick with Nago. So this has been discussed to death, of course. Nago has the blood gauge, so you'd have to know how that works. And the short summary would be, when the gauge is empty, it's really likely he'll use special moves to play neutral, and his special moves in neutral are really strong, but they cost a resource. And when the gauge is kind of full, if he uses more special moves, he's gonna go into blood rage, which he generally, not always, but generally does not want. So here's what he's gonna be pressing with these buttons. The goal with Milia is to stand around here when he's low. I actually just stand around here, because if he whiffs this, he's dead. If he whiffs this, you can hit him, but he's not dead. But if he whiffs this, he's dead. And you can neutral jump over both the special moves. And clone. Okay. Like no problem. So your main goal is to kind of play at this range and play around this, until he gets to a blood rage level 2. Then when he's in blood rage level 2, the round game kind of changes because he has this. This moves esports, as we all know, and does a ton of damage. But he can't just be whiffing on this move. If he whiffs on this move, he's dead anyway. So if he whiffs on this, I run up, hit him, boom, no problem. So he has no air dash, nor does he have a double jump, and his super jump is slow. But he has big buttons, so he has this, and then he can stall himself. So the main strat is you can choose to just let them do this. It doesn't really do anything to you. If they do this, you can like hit them when they land, so you can kind of scope it out. Because you can't really alter besides that, anti-air is pretty reliable against him. It's not common that he will jump, but anti-air is pretty reliable. For this matchup in particular, you have to check for your own character. It's just up to you how you'd want to deal with it. As far as offense, he's pretty normal, except he's not really good at getting out of the corner. He has to use like backdash, so keep in mind he has a really, so you can actually see his backdash. It just has a lot of invols, just keep that in mind. Melee stuff you can use is 5k or 6h or dashing extra to hit it. I prefer 6h because 6h will beat mashing and backdash and throw tech all at the same time. Her 6h is an amazing pressure move. So he has to either backdash or like mash to get out the corner. He actually kind of struggles getting out the corner. His main mercy is that Milia is not super good at rushing down the font meter. And you also have to watch out for this. Mostly because they use it kind of like it's a DP, even though it has no invul, but if he hits you, the return's really high. That's basically all the stuff you have to watch out for. Where on defense, I'm not going to talk about this. I honestly have a whole video on how to defend him. Defending him is really in-depth, and again, if you want to complain about Nago, just please watch the video. Like, honestly, watch the video. You will learn a lot about how to fight him and how he's manageable. It's still hard, but you will make it hard for him too. It'll make you feel way more comfortable against him. So we'll just kind of skip on that. He's not really like a set play character. So he's like a really traditional strike throw character. So he's basically going to be meeting you with this, you know, for the most part. Like his knockdown, like he doesn't have like a lot of tricks like that. But when Milia is set playing him, you basically get to meme him. He has a 5-frame jump, so he can't get out of stuff that other characters can get out of. He has problems dealing with like this type of thing, for example, where other characters are fine against it. The last thing would be dealing with his reversal super, because his reversal super is very special because it hits in the air, and it does, it has a really interesting thing that it does. So, oh, he's gonna do it either direction because it's the computer. Let's go computer. So, boom. Yes. So one answer is to instant block this. This was something I was really high on trying to do when the game came out. The timing is consistent. You do have to practice it. I'm pretty bad at it. So I actually do this instead, because this will make his DP miss no matter what. His DP. His super miss no matter what. And if he chooses to block, you can go for a double overhead or land low. The damage is low, but it's better than having your advantageous situation taken away from you. That's like a summary of like where I'm at with the matchup. A simple summary of where I'm at in the matchup. I would probably, for someone who's newer, go a couple of steps less than that. Because the assumption is if your problems are combo set play and the basics of matchups, then you're probably like a floor 9, floor 10. There's actually a good amount of detail, despite from my perspective being like, this is baseline. Like, I didn't talk about defense because there's a ton of stuff. There's actually a good amount of offensive interaction that Millie can do to mess with him. And the neutral is more than what I discussed, but that's essentially what it is. If you could take what I just did and get half of that, you're still ahead of your peers, like quite ahead of your peers. So that would be the goal. How do you guys feel in the chat though? Any questions?